Alright, so Record of Ragnarok, Apocalypse of the Gods, match 4. This is going to be my full fight commentary for Morrigan versus Neza. Make sure to subscribe if you have not already and you want to see more content like this. Also, big shout out to the members that continue to support the channel each and every month. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Now we cut back to the actual arena with Yara, the announcer, talking. She says, "Now then, everyone, the excitement for match 3 was only just started to cool off. But have you noticed something? For better or for worse, the last match took place outside of the arena. So that means that the stage we had prepared for that match is completely unharmed. Therefore, we can start match 4 without any delay." And we see the silhouettes of Morrigan and Neza, obviously the next two competitors. We now cut away. We see Sandy and Piggy, Wukong's brothers, and they're out up in the mountains and they're saying, "Ah shit, the next match is about to start. Just where the hell did Big Bro go off to?" Sandy says he got his mojo back, but his carefree attitude is the same as always. And Piggy's like, there's no helping it. Should just you and I go watch without him?" And Sandy's like, maybe why not? But in this tournament, after everything, who do you think will be the last one standing in the end? I mean, outside of Big Bro, of course. Pig Eye laughs. He's like, I don't care. Whoever makes it, it doesn't matter because there's nobody that can beat Big Bro. So they're hyping their brother Wukong. Obviously they think he's the top dog, but what they say next is really interesting. Big Bro is the strongest, although as he is now, if anyone could give him trouble, it'd be just that one guy. We don't know who they're talking about just yet, but right as they say this, Cucullin actually shows up and he says, "Well, ain't that just something interesting?" He's sitting up in a tree observing them. "How about letting me hear about that? Sounds like a real good story." Well, who is this strongest dude? It's kind of a weird statement because, like, you know, probably Wukong. Maybe he didn't see that these guys were with Wukong, but he's obviously fighting Wukong next. And basically Pigman and Sandy are saying, "Oh, holy shit, you're the guy fighting Big Bro in round 2. And Ku jumps down. They say your name was Cucullin, and Ku just scoffs and's like, what's with the attitude from you guys? I was pretty thrown off after old man Prometheus lost, but I'm glad because now I get to fight against a guy who I can go all out against." He's talking about Wukong, obviously, so he seemed to have been impressed. And maybe he was insinuating that he wouldn't have been able to go all out against Prometheus because, like, Prometheus saved him. But aura around Ku looks crazy here. And the funny thing about it is Wukong's brothers really don't even pay him any mind. They kind of just walk past him and they're like, "Who does this kid think he is? He's got guts though, I'll give him that. We don't hate that because guys like you remind us of Big Bro the way he was way back then." But they clearly don't even see this man as a threat to Wukong. We'll have to see. I'm really hyped for that fight. I think it's going to be more of a challenge than some people think, but I do think Wukong probably wins. We'll have to find out though. We now actually see Wukong, who's chilling in a tree like far off into the mountains himself, just laid back, and the narrator says that was carved into Sun Wukong's body, the memories of that legendary fight. So what they were referencing about the guy that could potentially challenge him and how he was back then is going to be explained right here. We see that these massive gods were synthetic gods. So we saw these guys in Wukong's super move. We also saw them in his backstory, but they were synthetic gods, explained to be Deus Ex Machina mechanical gods. So I guess they're synths or robots of a sort. They say long ago various evil gods rampaged across the land, and thus they were created to pacify increasingly chaotic worlds. So these mechanical gods were a creation. We don't know who the creator was. In this war with the synthetic gods, a nameless monkey from the backwater trained himself to become the strongest battle god, and it was not an exaggeration to call him the great sage Heaven's equal. However, within his legend, there exists a deeper truth than was ever told. So he started destroying these mechanical gods, right? We see he's taken some battle damage, but then this awesome silhouette appears like right on this mountain and challenges Wukong to a fight, and it's revealed that this is actually Neza. We cut back to the arena and Yara says, "In this apocalypse, the dangerous ones are not only the outer gods. Long ago, to defeat rampaging evil gods, they created autonomous divine soldiers capable of meting out divine punishment. They were called synthetic gods, but amongst them, he stood alone as the only special one." And then we see that Piggy and Sandy show up in the arena and they're like, "Damn, there he is." In this tournament, if there was anyone who could give Big Bro trouble, it'd be that asshole and that asshole alone. Starting with the great sage Heaven's equal, he was created to hunt down those that the synthetic gods couldn't handle themselves, a truly special existence. In other words, the anti-outer god synthetic god, the strongest amongst them. Now, they actually get into what was said in Journey to the West, because I'm sure if you guys have read that, you know that Neza and Wukong is like a big fight that happens there. And they say that in the Journey to the West, he fought against Sun Wukong, the great sage Heaven's equal, and at the end of their battle, it is said that he was defeated, but that tale was fiction. So on the record of Ragnarok verse, Neza did not actually lose to Wukong. We see this epic panel of them fighting, and it's a true extreme diff. They're both impaling each other with their weapons. And they say that the truth is, after fighting for 17 days straight, like Akainu and Aokiji from One Piece, that was 10 days, this is 17, they couldn't reach an end to their battle. And then we see Enmadayo is the one that said that. He continues and says, I mean, after that fight, the records were erased across all of Valhalla, so it might as well have never happened. So somebody was hiding the results of that fight for whatever reason. But obviously, those two feel differently about it. He concludes with that, and we see Neza just like aura farming in the arena. He thinks, since that day, I hunted down innumerable evil gods. I even hunted down the other outer gods. So I don't know what outer god this is, but we know that he has taken down an outer god, at least one. But he implies multiple. Yet no matter how many gods I hunted down, my heart remained empty. You, Wukong, it is your fault. Of what consequence is humanity's extinction? Who is the strongest? This apocalypse, Ragnarok? None of that means anything to me. I simply want to fight because I will not allow the outer gods to do as they please. Entrust their subjugation to me. The god created to make even outer gods tremble in fear. The synthetic god, Neza from China. My mission from that day is still incomplete. And in order to complete my mission, I have long since upgraded my combat abilities. Simply act as a well-mannered spectator and witness my newly upgraded power, Wukong. And he starts scanning the arena. We see that Neza is basically like a cyborg, a full-on synth, like those mechanical gods, but the better version, I assume. They were like completely mechanical. He's probably like a legitimate god, like merged with whatever synth technology or whatever is out there. And he has like this Dragon Ball Z-esque scanner that is like, we'll see later, can actually kind of deduce somebody's power level. We don't really know like what the extent of that is, but he's also scanning the arena for Wukong, and he's confused because he can't actually find him. And he's like, surely not. And it says searching immediate vicinity, search parameters, great sage Heaven's equal, Sun Wukong, search complete, no results found matching the parameters. And it's a comedic scene, but he's like, Wukong, how dare you skip out of my fight? And it cuts back to Wukong, who's like up in the mountains, like sleeping, drooling. He's like, oh shit, what time is it? And Neza's kind of throwing a fit. Now moving on to Morrigan's entrance, we see Neza has an alert go off, which is reacting to Morrigan as a dangerous threat. It says dangerous presence detected in the immediate vicinity, classification level 5. Morrigan looks huge. They call her the outer god unbelievable, pretty badass. And his scanner goes off again and says identifying the target's identity, outer god, the Morrigan. And Yara goes off saying, the strongest goddess, don't make me laugh. I'm the strongest of the gods and goddesses, quoting what Morrigan said. During the battle to determine the strongest goddess, in the final match, Echidna, who was hailed as the top-seeded fighter, was pummeled within an inch of her life, so that's who Morrigan beat. Apparently there was some tournament to declare her the strongest goddess in Valhalla. I find this a little bit interesting because at one point Aphrodite was originally supposed to fight in Ragnarok. So I wonder if she participated in this tournament, and it would have actually been kind of cool if she was the one that Morrigan fought in the finals, but they didn't go that route. The pure destructive power she's loaded with is truly dreadnought class, says Yara. Morrigan then says, the hell, when she's looking down at Neza, because she looks way bigger than him. Another scrawny faced twink is what she says. Ain't you been eating your meals, little bitch? Maybe take this as a sign you screwed up. Huge size discrepancy. Neza then says, what a shame. She says, huh? He says, in my experience, simple-minded beasts like you are the ones that I destroyed the most easily. And Morrigan has her veins start pulsating in her face, and she chuckles and says, huh, you don't say, huh? And off rip, she just immediately attacks him. As she's attacking, Yara's like, Zeus, Odin, couldn't care less. I'll beat them all up if I want to. That's apparently what Morrigan has said. Yara is just quoting her, and Yara finishes that off by saying she is the great queen, the Morrigan. full throttle from the get-go. Round 1, match 4, start, says Yara. Immediately, as we saw at the end of last chapter, Morrigan was going in for an attack. She says pulverize and attacks him. He puts out his palm, looks like he's getting ready to shoot some kind of blast out of his palm, and there's this big explosion in the middle of the arena. But what we see when the dust settles is that he blocked with this makeshift shield that seems to have formed out of his hand. Now, Yara said it's just a normal punch, but its power was immense. Obviously, that huge explosion, it cracked the platform immediately. And Neza says, as I predicted, no finesse, no strategy, what a boorish attack from you. Crowd saying, what is that? His arm transformed into a shield. And now Neza says, and to pay back that lack of finesse, he opens his palm again, his other palm, and this time plans on shooting something out of it. He launches this massive blast into Morrigan. It sends her sky high into the crowd. She crashes into it. People are running in terror. Yara says, the Morrigan was sent flying all the way to the audience. She does get back up. She chuckles and says, looks like you got a real fun toy, don't you? Neza retorts, I recommend you use your own body to determine if this is a toy or not. Transforms his arm. This time, it reminds me of like the Ripper from Black Ops 3, that specialist ability. But yeah, it's like this pronged arm blade, and Yara screams out, and right now his arm is changing again. He says the word organs. Fire tip spear omega. There's a Chinese name there. I don't know how to pronounce the Chinese version of the name. This attack is going straight for Morrigan. She says cheeky and basically braces for the impact. Now the narrator, while this is happening, gives us some insight and says neither a bullet nor a laser. Before, one of Neza's organs, the mystical armor of heaven and earth, received the Morrigan's punch, and within Neza's body, that power was transformed into pure destructive energy. So apparently he can absorb your power and shoot it back at you. And that's effectively what he's shooting back at Morrigan right now. And from Neza's right arm, it once again released. However, and we cut to Morrigan now, she was obviously bracing for impact, but she wasn't just bracing to just take it and get pushed back. She literally slammed it away, deflected it. Obviously, it looks like gauntlets are her weapon, but when she deflects this, you get this funny ass shot of the gods in the crowd, and they just know they're cooked. This attack gets slammed right into a section of the crowd, probably kills all of them. Now she slams it without giving a shit, and Ares is actually surprised. He didn't even know the next match started because it started so quickly. He's like, what, next match has started? And he just sees all these flames and people running and sprinting away. He ends up actually in the arena, in the crowd, and he sees just that portion that got wiped out, dude, and it is just a torrent of flames. Yara says, everyone in the audience, please use your own discretion to flee. And Ares says, damn you outer gods. As a god of war, my intuition's telling me, if we let you scum run amok as you please, Valhalla has no future. He screams that out. Nobody's paying attention to what he's saying though. Awesome shot of Morrigan up in a section of the crowd, staring down at Neza back on the platform. She scoffs and says, told ya, a toy. Neza says, I see. Long range attacks are ineffective, in which case, organs, glittering demon, decapitation sword, heavenly flight wheels. So he takes flight, rushes up to Morrigan's positions. They've left the platform. They're now up in the damn stands. This is dope. And he's going in for an attack. Yara's on her platform. She's like, what even is this? This fight between these two is going too far. It's destroying the audience. Everybody that decided to stay is now getting hit by rocks and rubble. They're running away. And now we cut back to Zeus and Hermes. And this is maybe the best part of the chapter for me based on what's said. Obviously, you know, we'll get into it. Zeus says, dear me, seems like our arena is just a hair too cramped for them. It appears so, says Hermes. Hermes says, although with this many dangerous outer gods all in one place, this apocalypse, sooner or later, this was bound to happen, Father. Zeus says, Hermes then smirks, and he says, shall we stop it? And Zeus says, why, I'd never. God versus God, after all. This is what it originally meant. If you want to watch, it might cost you your life. But that's exactly why it's worth it in the first place. Now, the thing that gets me hyped is Hermes saying, are we going to step in and stop this? Now, obviously, we've hyped Hermes on this channel for a long time saying, hey, man, he saw Zeus's fist at surpass time. He is fast. He wanted to fight with Shiva. And now he's actually implying like, hey, we're going to actually step to fight. That was dope. And I know Hermes is strong, and I hope one day we get to see what he's capable of. Zeus continues and says, those who are able to watch this death match all the way through to the end will be limited to just those few. The ones willing to stake their life on if they can defend themselves. Now, when we don't really get to see anybody of note. It's just Wukong's brothers, Ares, Echidna, the girl that lost to Morrigan, and Ahura Mazda on the first page. But those guys are mostly fodder. Besides Ahura Mazda maybe, but the second page is pretty interesting because we see Enmedio and 2 new characters. We don't know who these guys are, but one of them has a coffin with a skeleton on it, so he's one of the guys. He's either the Shinigami, Leviathan, Muramasa. These 2 are probably 2 competitors on that side of the bracket, but we don't really get to see. We don't get to see the guy in the suit's face, but he looks like he's probably gonna be pretty cool. We then cut to see Ku. Ku says, "God damn, she never changes. Putting on such a flashy fight, that gal is something else." Now, we kind of missed what ended up happening like in the air, but Morrigan was going to try to punch him out of the sky. I think what happens here is she missed because, yeah, she like punches up a huge chunk of rubble. Neza seems to dodge out of the way. His internal coding is saying total analysis of the target's attack patterns complete and begin counterattack. So he ends up behind Morrigan. Looks like he blitzed her. She gets striked by all these different cuts. They go up and down her entire body. He looks at her and says, "Do you understand now? You and I, our rank is different." Cuts all over her face, cuts all over her body, exploding everywhere. "You beast." And Yara says, "Holy shit, the situation has done a 180. Neza cuts and cuts and cuts and cuts. The Morrigan, she can't do anything." And Neza's thinking to himself, just as I predicted, this time too, what a boorish fight, as I thought the only one who can satisfy my heart is Wukong alone. So he thinks this is an easy fight. But this time, when he goes for a cut, Morrigan catches it in her mouth. She catches it in her mouth and says, "Got you." And right when she does that, she uses her left hand, grips onto Neza's shoulder. His internal system is going crazy, saying, "Alert, target's threat level has escalated rapidly." We don't find out the number, but she was at a 5. Now we don't know. She has this devious grin on her face, says, what was that you said at the start? No finesse, no strategy, just a punch, right? You were right." She cocks back her right arm and says, "That was just a punch." Neza's looking up. It looks like the damn Willem Dafoe meme. He's like, "Impossible. This sensation is this fear." That's his internal monologue. Morrigan continues, says, "But you see, what I'm about to hit you with, this right here is a real punch." Neza looks shook, and we don't even see the connection. All we see is aftermath, and it starts with Wukong walking outside by a mountain, and he feels the ground shaking. He has no idea what this is, and he's like, Valhalla has earthquakes? Damn, too much weird stuff is going on these days. He's walking into the arena. He's walking into the arena right now. Okay, keep that in mind. We cut back. All the crowd is going nuts, but Hermes has a crazy smile on his face. Enma is sweating. Zeus is enthralled, and there's a massive crater in the stands where these two were at. Morrigan might have kept on punching. I don't really even know. She says, "This ain't nearly enough. I could have kept going for hours. Is this that rank thing you were talking about?" And she literally has ripped off Neza's legs, his arms, and is holding him by his hair as he is white-eyed, bleeding everywhere. Like, legitimately, this man just got mauled. We didn't even get to see it. What even happened? And Yara's left her platform now. She's like floating in the sky. She's like, it's over, but there's no title card. There's no end of the match duration, blah, blah, blah. So I don't think this fight is over because they end chapters with that title card, and Wukong is walking into the arena right now. We start things off a little further back than where we end the last chapter. Obviously, we got this shot at the end of the last chapter, this diabolical shot of Morrigan holding on to Neza by his hair, his limbs gone, and he looks like he's done, out for the count. We see that when she grabbed his arm, Neza's alerts were going off throughout his head. He screamed out organs, mystical armor, and then the impact happened. The narrator says the Dreadnought's one punch tears the arena asunder. One of Neza's organs, the mystical armor of heaven and earth, it was a recreation of Shi Feng Wei Li, aka Wukong's technique that he finished Prometheus with. However, what he replicated was the concept of storing the energy from the taken attack and releasing it back out. But this was only how it was supposed to work in theory. he did not have the durability of the unbreakable Wukong, so it wasn't going to work the same way. Neza's body reached its capacity and was instantaneously overwhelmed by Morrigan's simple punch. Don't forget, this is a quote-unquote simple punch from Morrigan. We then cut away, we see some reaction shots, and we actually see some of the Egyptian goddesses with Ra, so confirmed he's alive. Obviously, we already expected this, but he seems to be recovering, not moving, but he's recovering in some kind of tank, so hopefully, we're holding out that hope that he shows up for Anubis' fight. Hercules, Prometheus, Indra, Suzaku recovering, all these people, and then we cut to Suzaku's friends, with Tiger saying, no way, she really is unbelievable. That much power, the Morrigan, and we get this aura shot of Morrigan. Now we see Neza, of course, in a crater in the ground, so she slammed him into the ground, so it's confirmed that that was simply damage from one punch. She wasn't even ripping off his limbs. Her one punch just obliterated his limbs. That's actually nuts. She then picked him up, scoffed at him, and said, called it. You fucked up when you challenged me. What a waste of time. You weren't even a good warm-up. Yara starts to announce that it's over, but as she announces that it's over, Wukong steps into the arena, he cuts her off and says, no. I told you guys, Wukong walking into the arena meant Neza's getting his ass back up. He has to. He says no, and at that moment, while Morrigan's walking away looking the other direction, she notices something happen, and we see she's been impaled. Neza has struck her from behind with a blade. She's like, what the? You want to keep going? And actually smirks. She turns around real quick and tries to punch him once more, but Neza's too fast. He ends up behind her this time. She glances behind her, but what she sees is nothing like what she saw before. We see Limit Break Code Asura, and this form is awesome. This is actually my favorite form from the spin-off so far, dude. This form is awesome. He looks like a straight savage, way better than his initial design. But this is Neza's final form, and Medaia's confused. Wukong's boys are confused. Ares says, what the hell is that form? His arms and legs, he regrew them. And Yara says, no, I was wrong. It is far from over. Or a shot of Neza looking like a beast. And Morrigan's a little confused. She questions it. She's like, so you grew some new arms? You really think that means you'll win? And she charges at him with yet another punch. This time again, Neza sidesteps it, lands an uppercut with one of his new arms, slams it into Morrigan. She goes flying up into the sky, spits out a ton of blood. Neza follows her up into the sky and slams her with another punch, this time to the face, sends her crashing to the ground with a boom impact. Yara says incredible. People in the crowd are shook. Crater in the ground. This time Morrigan's the one inside, but one of Neza's arms seems to shatter and wither away. Then another one does. Now his leg is being affected. His whole body is starting to crack. And Wukong notes, this guy is an asshole. His friends run over to him. They're like, big bro, you ended up coming after all. But this is weird. That guy, that form, we don't recognize it. And Wukong says, yeah, I don't know either. Back then, when we fought, it dragged on for ages because he just kept regenerating. So that's why the fight took so long. That's why there was no winner, at least as far as we know now, because every time Wukong tried putting him down, Neza would keep getting back up. And Neza did his own damage to Wukong as well. I'm sure Wukong got tired after a while as well. But that's what happened. Makes a lot of sense. His brothers say, you never told us that. And Wukong says at the end of the fight, the final technique he showed, he pulled out all of his weapons at the same time in all-out attack form. But this new form is completely different from that one. So that's what he used at the end. We don't get to see the final clash between the two of them. We don't know how it all shook out, but it's not the same thing. So Neza has gotten stronger since that fight with Wukong, as I'm sure Wukong has gotten stronger as well. We'll see if they get their rematch down the line. We'll find out. Another cool shot of Neza, and his eye looks awesome. Looks like blood is flowing out of his eye, although that might just be part of the design. It might just be the veins coursing through his face. And his internal system says signs of life confirmed, of course referencing Morrigan. She gets up from the crater in the ground, dripping blood all over the place, but still smiling, and she laughs and says, starting to look like a real fight now, ain't it? We hear her heartbeat, we see the damage inflicted to her stomach, we see her spitting up blood, and then Medaio says, damn, that did real damage. And Zeus says, Hermes, how does it look to you? And Hermes replies, this is only my best guess, but this new form of Neza's, I dare say it sacrifices his own life force in order to maintain operationality. Now Hermes is known for actually knowing. I don't know why he's acting like he doesn't know, but he always is spot on with his analysis. At that moment, we see his leg basically completely shattered. It started cracking, but now completely shattered. He falls to the ground. Morrigan sees this, says, ah, and Neza catches on that she's like, watching him. And he says, what's wrong? Hurry up, come and get me. Are you scared, Outer God? And he just looks at her with a defiant face. Almost looks like he's done here. And like, he's like, kind of like, hey, you better come kill me. But I think he's still got something else up his sleeve. Morrigan hears this. She starts bursting out laughing. We get some narration that says Neza's body, after receiving the tremendous power from Morrigan's punch, by using his regenerative capabilities, he forcibly kept it stored within himself. And this destructive energy, which by all rights should have destroyed his body in an instant, transferred into his fist. So he did somehow tank her punch. He just keeps on, shifting it through his regenerative tissue. He keeps regenerating again. He regenerated his arms, and now he rushes towards her, back with his legs, back with his arms once more. Morrigan sees this and says, nice. In that case, I'm showing off too. This one is gonna be a real punch. As Neza's rushing toward her, Morrigan says, nice. In that case, I'm showing off too. And she starts cracking her gauntlet. Right off rip, as she does this, the next panel is her just straight up getting punched in the face by Neza. She doesn't react to it, doesn't defend against it. But when he connects, the arm that he punched her with withers away. Clearly in a lot of pain, he screams out. He punches again with another one of his fists, punches again, this time to the body. He just continues throwing punches at her. Yara's speechless. Ares says, this barrage is this. And we see Hermes, who's thinking to himself, each strike, even though it contains enough power to destroy his own body, because of his regenerative abilities, he's able to keep up this barrage beyond what anyone could ever predict. He uses an attack called Shura Sahasrara Kala. We just see, explosions going off. It's really just like a gatling of attacks. We see Echidna now in the crowd, and she's having like a PTSD moment. She's shivering, sweating all over the place, rubbing the back of her neck. She's clearly uncomfortable. It's revealed that like she doesn't have one of her arms. Her left arm is gone. She's like gripping the remnants of it. And it cuts to like a small flashback of the finals of the all-women tournament for the title of Strongest Goddess. And they were fighting each other. The Morrigan's real punch was not actually a unique ability. It was simply a ritual of Morrigan's. Her full power was simply to completely abandon anything and everything else and like basically just commit to the punch. It's kind of reminiscent of Taesu Ma if you read Lookism. He just puts everything into his like right hand, his right fist. So that was what was flooding my mind as I read this. Now it did seem like, she was cracking her gauntlet even back then too. So I guess she just kind of keeps rebuilding it. Morrigan was pushed to the brink. She was clearly damaged. She was pushed to use her real punch, and Echidna was slicing her up. And Neza's thinking to himself, what is this? I'm the one completely overpowering her. But it's actually, like a split screen. They're both thinking the same thing. So it's like the flashback, Echidna's thinking this and Neza's thinking this. And yet why do I feel like I can't possibly beat this woman? So this may be implying that Echidna and Neza are actually just relative. They're both having a similar performance. They're both pulling out Morrigan's true power. The narrator says that divine weapon, just like Morrigan, possessed no special unique ability. Instead, it possessed a single undeniable strength. So it's just like a super hard gauntlet, apparently. She cracks it down to like its actual bare bones, man, and it just like forms around her fist. And at this point, Neza's like internal alert system's going crazy. It's saying limit break, threat level incalculable, and Neza's saying shut up, shut up, shut up. He's still wanting to fight. He's lunging toward Morrigan. He's like, I haven't lost yet. And right as he's like lunging toward her, 3 of his arms just completely crack. Like the power that's within his body is just like destroying him. Now to the point where he only has 1 leg left. Falls out of the sky. Zeus says, Ares says he's hit his limit. That's kind of the consensus of everybody watching. His face is cracking like down through his eye. And Morrigan is just like levitating at this point. And she's like, what's the matter? If you're ready, then come at me. I mean, this is where it gets good, isn't it? And that moment, like as Neza's like in free fall, he clenches his fist and he says, that's right. His alert system's still going crazy, saying survival energy reserve 0, programming all red, battle continuance impossible. And he simply hears all this and he's like, and yet I don't want to lose this fight. Resolves himself, like flips back around through the air, lunges back toward Morrigan with only 1 hand remaining. As the narrator says, this was clearly something without technique. It was simply a punch. His 1 arm remaining gets like super buffed. It's like a massive, it looks like a fucking Gear 3 Luffy punch almost. Morrigan acknowledges this. She says, ha, seems like you've gotten a good deal more impressive. She goes to meet him in the middle, Says, just like I thought, in a brawl, all that really matters is your fist. Cool panel here. Massive explosion in the arena. Narrator says, in that moment, that clash was born from both fighters surpassing any and all intensity they've shown thus far. That tells me it's probably the strongest attack either of them have done, which is pretty crazy, especially for Neza, given that like he's on death's door completely. Rips up the stage completely, like flies into the crowd. Like this was the most destructive fight. Like the crowd was getting eviscerated earlier. It's now going into like where Enmadaio's sitting, like a lot of the gods, Ku. You see Wukong's boys, like the rubble is all throughout the damn stands. Even Yara, the ring announcer, she's on like a broken platform now, bloodied up. Like, damn, she got hit. That's crazy. She's sitting there. She's like, oh, holy shit, the winner is. And then you just see this cool panel of Morrigan standing tall. Lost her arm in the process, though. So that attack from Neza, I mean, I'd say that probably surpassed whatever fucking Echidna did, because she didn't lose an arm in that fight unless she regrew it. But we don't see that. And takes her down to the bone. She looks at her arm. She's like, fuck. I go just a bit serious, and it ends up like this. Got the Neza's body now. We see the aftermath. Like, he's just like a husk. There's only like the top part of his torso remaining. Like half his face is gone. And Wukong like jumped down to where he's at. And Neza says, dear me, I never wanted to show you such an unsightly appearance, Wukong. Wukong just kind of looks at him like, unsightly? Gotcha. Later, then he starts walking away from this dude. And Neza's like, wait, just wait. I'm sorry, I just wanted to look good. I gave it my everything. So he looks up to Wukong, clearly. That was his fated rival. He continues on saying, it's been a long time since I've felt so refreshed. And on top of that, despite losing, I feel no shame, no regret, nothing. In fact, I feel proud of my fight. His face is cracking, very similar to the actual Ragnarok participants from the main series. Wukong scoffs a little bit and says, just say that from the beginning then, man. As he's fading away now, fading away just like the Ragnarok participants, he says, win, Wukong. I won't accept you losing to anyone but me. Got it? And he fully crystallizes at that point. Yara sees this. She says, it's over. Round 1, match 4, winner, the strongest goddess, the Morrigan. Match duration, 12 minutes, 58 seconds. Final blow, a real punch. Winner, the Morrigan.